Hey, we're back to classful addressing. I decided to split these videos up because they were kind of running long. So we're talking now about specifically about CIDRs for classful addressing. What do I do when I run across a problem with a CIDR less than slash 24? Well, here is a straightforward process. You simply write your ones in your binary octets, convert your binary to decimal, right, and then count the number of bits borrowed for the number of subnets. So let's take this example IP address right here, 190.58.135.116. This is an actual IP address, and this is on a /17 network. The CIDR is /17. So you just write out your 8 dashes, 4 sets of 8 dashes, and then write in 17 ones. And so that gets you 8 here, and 1 in this third octet. So convert that to decimal. What's the subnet mask? It's 255.255.128 right here, .0. So you borrowed 1 bit from the third octet, and so you got 2 subnets. How do you get 2 subnets? Well, the largest number that you can make in binary with a single bit, it's a single digit, is 1. Well, you can make 0 too, so you can make 0 and 1. So that gets you 2 subnets. So let's continue with our example here. 190.58.135.16/17. Let's answer these questions. How many subnets? How many total hosts per subnet? What's the network ID? First and last host IP and broadcast IP. How many subnets? How many? Well, we already answered that. There's 2. And then how many total hosts per subnet? Look at this gigantic number here, 32,768. Where did that come from? Well, let's take a look. So you have you're using 1 bit to create subnets, and again, these are for public IP addresses, classful addressing, right? You're using 1 bit, and look, you have 15 bits left to create hosts. And you remember, what are your place values? Well, 1, 2, 4, 8, all the way up to 128. Well, you have to keep going. 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096, all the way up till you get to 32. That you add all those numbers up, and it's like 16,000 something is the total number. You can crunch the numbers in your head. Hey, I'm trying to do a video here. Y'all hit pause and do the math, all right? So add those numbers up. Let me finish the video. And then you add all those numbers up, and it's 32,768. So we have 4 more questions to answer. How do you answer all of these questions? Well, now you have to remember, when you get questions that are asking for network ID, broadcast IP, first and last host IPs, okay, they are asking for these numbers. They're asking for the network ID for the subnet that contains the IP address that you're given in the question. So you are given the IP address 190.58.135.16. So what subnet is that in? Well, you have to figure that out. You know there's 2 subnets, so it's either going to be the first or the second subnet, right? So the first thing you do is pull out your cheat sheet and just use it without the CIDR row, okay? So subnet mask, we're borrowing 1 bit. We created 2 subnets with a subnet mask is 128, okay? And then, all right, so then that will allow you to sketch out your increment is 128. So that increment, this increment right here, is going to be used in this third octet this time. So check this out. Look at your third octet. Your third octet, it's going to range from 0 to 127, right? And in the first subnet, and in the second subnet, your third octet is going to range from 128 to 255, okay? That's where these numbers come into play, because we're working in the third octet. Now we need to deal with the fourth octet. So the range in the fourth octet is always 0 to 255. So subnet 1 ranges from 190.58.0.0 to 190.58.127.255. And subnet 2 ranges from 190.58.128.0 all the way up to 190.58.255.255. Now, check this out. I mean, this is probably pretty easy to understand. 190.58.0.0 right here, and then 190.58.255.255 down here. Those numbers, you can probably immediately see kind of where we got those numbers. What about these numbers in the middle? Where does that break off? So, well, check this out. So our increment is 128, and this increment goes in the third octet, like we said. So the third octet ranges from 0 to 127. So what is the biggest number that you can put in that third and fourth octet combined? 127 in the third octet and 255 in the fourth octet. Look at the binary. What if you add 1 to this? If you add 1 to this, right, it carries back over to the third octet. So the third octet jumps from 127 to 128, and then the fourth octet goes back to 0, because now we're in the second subnet. And the second subnet goes from 190.58.128.0 all the way up, max it out, 190.58.255.255. So, check it out. This IP address, 190.58.135.6, where does that fall? Well, let's look at that third octet. It is 135, the third octet. So, is 135 between 0 and 127? Nope. Is 135 between 128 and 255? It sure is. So, this IP address right here, 190.58.135.16, is in subnet 2. So when we're asked for network ID, broadcast IP, first and last host, it is asking for subnet 2 because this IP address is sitting in subnet 2. So there they are. Once you find out what subnet that IP address is sitting in, the rest is easy. You automatically know this stuff. Just go off the definitions of these terms. The network ID is what? It's the first IP in the subnet. So it's 190.58.128.0. What's the broadcast IP? The broadcast IP is the last IP in the subnet. So it's 190.58.255.255. And then first and last usables. Well, first usable is always one more than network ID. Always one more than network ID. So it's going to be 190.58.128.1. And last usable is always less. Is always what? It's one less than broadcast IP. So it's 190.58.255.254. See, that wasn't as complicated as you thought it was. It's pretty straightforward. Now, you may have to pause this video, replay it a bit to kind of really get a handle on things. But the next video we're going to do some practice problems, and I'll see you then.